There are three big things we first have to cover tonight. One is the disgrace that is Senator Lydia Thorpe, now wrestling with police as she lunged at a woman to stop her speaking. Two, what has the left come to when it now bullies even women? A bullying now celebrated by a Greens leader who's actually proud of this thuggery, proud that she intimidated other women. And the third, well, let's start with that. The future of your country is at stake. Today, the Prime Minister caved in to Aboriginal radicals, completely gave in. The Prime Minister cried. Anthony Albanese cried a few times as he unveiled a model that he must know that his Attorney General does know, that is so dangerous it will now probably be defeated at the referendum, because even the lawyers advising him are saying this is not safe. This voice that Albanese wants is not safe, but it's trapped.
Are there any circumstances in which this will not be put to a vote? The answer to that is no. Because to not put this to a vote to not put this to a vote is to concede defeat. You only win when you run on the field and engage. And let me tell you, my government is engaged. We're all in.
Now, thanks to this model of a voice, an Aboriginal-only kind of parliament, that Albanese unveiled today, we are poised to introduce apartheid into this country. We're a race-based parliament, unelected, by the way, unelected, can stop the elected parliament of us all from acting. This is a disaster, and I think this government actually knows it. Now, as I told you last night, the government knows that the words that Albanese came up with last year to change our constitution, to add this voice, they were dangerous. It dawned on him, and that's why Attorney General Mark Dreyfus went last week to the government's Aboriginal-only referendum working group, who were there again today with Albanese up on the stage. But Dreyfus begged them to agree to change Albanese's words. He wanted a change to stop judges giving that voice an effective veto over the parliament. The power to stop governments doing anything that might affect Aborigines in any way, even a change to the tax system, unless the government first listened to the voice, however long it took for the voice to make up its mind. And he wanted to remove the right of the voice to make even public servants consulted before acting. But guess what? The working group, now dominated by radicals, said no way. In fact, they have now added stuff to give the voice even more power. So Albanese should today have said, well then, too bad. I'm changing these words anyway, because Australia must come before my pride. But he didn't. I'm guessing he thought it looked ridiculous if he overruled Aboriginal advisors when he's trying to sell us a voice that he says will make us listen to Aboriginal advisors. You see his problem. But what I did not contemplate when telling you about this jam he was in last night is that Albanese wouldn't just cave in, but he'd agree to something even more dangerous. Now, you know, I'm an opponent of this voice on principle, but don't just take my word for it. Listen to Professor Greg Craven. Craven is one of our top constitutional lawyers, huge supporter of the voice from the start. In fact, is officially a legal expert to that All Aboriginal referendum group. But then he realised, the model they were designing was dangerous to our democracy. And he tried to get it changed, and he failed. And now we've got this. And here he is, Greg Craven, this morning on 3AW, saying that what Albanese unveiled today was even worse.
Well, this is actually far worse than I had contemplated the worst position being.
That is from an advisor to the government's group designing the voice. So, what did Albanese agree to today? Well, first, he gave in and agreed that public servants should actually have to listen to the Voice, this Aboriginal-only kind of parliament, before acting.
And the Parliament and Executive Government should seek written advice from the Voice early in the development of proposed laws and policies.
The Prime Minister also agreed to add tiny changes to one of the 3 paragraphs he suggested last year should go into the Constitution. I'll show you the extra words in italics there, or bold rather, so that it read like this. To make it seem wrongly, really, that the government had added a couple of things to prevent the Voice from stopping the government from acting.
3. The Parliament shall, subject to this Constitution, have power to make laws with respect to matters relating to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice, including its composition, functions, powers and procedures.
It's just camouflage. And the opposition leader today was right onto Albanese's cave into the radicals, and today asked the Prime Minister to release the advice of the government's Solicitor General, who apparently has also warned Albanese this voice is dangerous.
It's important that the Solicitor General's advice is released because in the absence of that advice and in the absence of detail from the Prime Minister, how can the Australian public make an informed judgment about a very, very important issue?
You are being sold poison. This is a disaster. It is a failure of leadership, and it could be fatal too to the chances of this voice getting support in the referendum, because I think people might sniff this out. And I just wonder if that is why there were so many tears at today's press conference. Or I don't know, maybe the Prime Minister and the Indigenous Affairs Minister were just moved by how good they seemed.
This moment has been a very long time in the making.
Today we take a big step forward.
Now, Albanese today insisted this voice would help us all fix Aboriginal poverty and dysfunction because finally Aborigines will be consulted. You know that's a con. Aborigines have been consulted endlessly. Look at the 3,000 Aboriginal corporations we have already, the more than 30 land councils we have already, the gigantic National Indigenous Australians Agency, the Albanese funds already employing no fewer than 1,300 people to work out what Aborigines want and to tell the government. No. I think Albanese gave the real game away today with his tears and with this appeal to white Australians, like this voice is really some feel-good therapy for guilty whites.
We will feel better about ourselves if we get this done.
We won't, not for long. Because what we will have done if we agree to this voice is impose apartheid on Australia. We will, under the Constitution, forever have divided Australians by race. One race has different political rights to the others. Apartheid. We will have weakened our democracy. And don't forget, next on Albanese's to-do list is promised already, a treaty, as if Aborigines are not just a completely different race under a constitution, but a different nation. So no wonder he cried, because by God, what has he done?